Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. With business process outsourcing centers set to close for 14 days starting tomorrow, a number of workers are expected to be laid off. That's according to one BPO operator. We have details in this report.
Some 27,000 workers in the business process outsourcing BPO sector are expected to be laid off in keeping with the order for BPO locations to close for 14 days starting on Wednesday. Chairman and CEO of ITEL BPO, Yoni Epstein, who gave the disclosure, says this was based on discussions with other players in the industry. Mr. Epstein says the remaining employees will work from home.
Many of them are in a similar position or even a worse position than ourselves. So based upon the numbers, this means of people who are working at home is about 13,000, which means about 27,000 people will go home at the end of the day today and have nothing to do for 14 days.
Speaking today on the morning agenda on Power 106 FM, Mr. Epstein said about 50% of workers at ITEL BPO's Montego Bay and Kingston offices are working from home. Now, Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave the closure order yesterday. However, he noted some exceptions.
That the critical services, those that support the telecommunications, the banking, and the logistics and shipping, particularly those related to our operations as a country, that we will make exemptions and provisions for their operations, but those will be closely regulated.
Mr. Epstein says closing down the BPO sector will only deepen the negative impact on the sector and the economy. He says the decision was unexpected.
We've had dialogue, the government along the way in increasing the measures prior, during, and after the Alorica situation. And we've all implemented those measures and have been passed several times by health inspectors. To get the news as to what was to come last night was definitely a shock to us.
However, the Prime Minister says the closure of the sector provides them with the opportunity for some restructuring and forming new alliances.
I am making an appeal here to the hotel sector. No business is happening in hotels now. Here is a perfect economic opportunity to put hotels and BPO operations together. And I think that is an opportunity that should be explored because it is in the national interest and it makes good business sense. So the BPOs will significantly reduce their operations to the point where you could literally say they have closed for the 14 days. In that 14 days, they have an opportunity to restructure, many of them to deep clean, many of them to rethink their operations, and it breaks any possible contagion link that may be developing for which we do not know.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the authorities are awaiting COVID-19 test results for more BPO workers as well as employees at the headquarters of the Health Ministry.
We have done a number of tests. My understanding is that we have not yet gotten all the results, and so I'd prefer not to comment definitively on that until maybe tomorrow, when we should be in a position to give a more definite position as it relates to the status of those who were tested.
With regards to one other BPO facility, we really have done some what we call an opportunity sampling of quite a few persons, just as persons that are workers there. We haven't gotten back those results as well as yet. And in terms of the other BPO facility that had closed, there was a contact from the Alorica call center. That person has been tested, and we're waiting for the result.
Another person has died from complications associated with the coronavirus, bringing the total number of deaths to 6. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bisesa Mackenzie yesterday disclosed that the individual is a retired lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona.
Yes, I can confirm the death of the university lecturer, and it's with a deep sense of my own, sympathies, both to the family that I know personally and, for Professor who taught me when I was in university.
And it's now time for a break. We have more stories when we return. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. The government says it will be helping the Trelawney-based egg farmer highlighted by TVJ News on Saturday. The farmer, Mark Campbell, said he was racking up millions of dollars in losses because he has no market for the product. He usually supplies eggs to hotels, but since most are closed due to COVID-19, he has been stuck with the eggs and chicken, and his bills are piling up. Mr. Campbell said he has tried several measures to get rid of some of the chickens, including giving away and killing some.
Some of the birds that we disposed of were actually our good birds that should have really stayed with us until October, November this year, when they would have been replaced. The set that I am having a hard time making a determination of now is a much younger set that should be staying with me until next year. That's 2021, because they're young birds. They just came here in November, so they should really be spending a year and a half with me, but I've had to stop them from laying because I can't continue to feed them. It is a tremendous cost to feed, and without a market for the eggs, it's a big problem.
6 persons, including 3 children, are homeless after fire destroyed their home last night in Boston, Portland. To adhere to government's directive for citizens to stay inside, the victims are seeking help to rebuild, and we have details in this report.
Charred remains tell the tale of an unfortunate event which unfolded on Monday night in the Smithfield Lane, Boston, Portland. About 8:25, Marlon Buckley received a call that his house was engulfed in flames. It's not clear what started the fire, but the victims were only able to save their lives.
It's a terrible loss. It's about 15 million and we're out of house, we don't have clothes, we don't have nothing. Nothing, everything lost.
The Port Antonio Fire Station was contacted, and within 15 minutes a unit responded.
On arrival, the brigade realized that the building was engulfed in flames. Assistance was seized from the Buff Bay Fire Station.
The fire damaged 3 bedrooms, leaving 3 adults and 3 children homeless. According to Acting Superintendent at the Port Antonio Fire Station, Rory Campbell, the building was not insured.
As for the preliminary loss, the section that was destroyed, the brigade placed that at $10 million, while the estimated risk was placed at $35 million. This building was not insured.
In light of COVID-19 measures, which encourages citizens to stay inside, the fire victims are seeking the public's help to put a roof back over their heads.
So if the whole Jamaica here can help us, we need it right now, because we are outside at the moment in our corona. It's never ever easy to fight back on the corona disaster. It's worse than what we have to face at this moment.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
The police have intensified their search for Roger Christopher Gaynor, one of the detainees still on the run following Sunday's jailbreak at the Hunts Bay Police lockup. Head of the St. Andrews South Police Division, Senior Superintendent Wayne Cameron, says Mr. Gaynor, who engaged cops in a shootout in Riverton this morning, may have been injured. He's urging residents to be observant.
Not so long ago, in an exchange of gunfire between himself and police officers who are on duty there, Roger Gaynor escaped from custody at the Hunts Bay Police Station on Sunday and is currently on the run. As I mentioned before, he may have been injured in this encounter, and we are asking residents for their cooperation. We also want to alert the hospital to be on the lookout for anyone who turns up there with gunshot injuries, to alert police immediately.
Mr. Gaynor is among 3 detainees still on the run. 3 of them surrendered to the police yesterday, while another was killed during an alleged shootout in Portmore, St. Catherine. On Sunday evening, another detainee was handed over to the police by his mother. Dancehall artist Dexter Daps, whose given name is Louis Grandison, was remanded when he appeared in court yesterday. Senior Superintendent of Police for the St. Andrews South Police Division, Wayne Cameron, says the artiste was remanded pending an application to have the tribunal release him. The SSP says there are indications that Dexter Daps is an influential man in the Seaview Gardens community where he's from.
When I arrived at his residence in Seaview Gardens and I asked him his home address, and that's the house that we encountered him. He said it's called Dapper Lane, in Dapper Corner. So my question to him was whether the lane was named after him. Clearly, that shows some amount of influence in this space. So he was picked up along with 46 other persons from the community.
In news overseas, U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday said he'll be temporarily suspending all immigration into the United States through an executive order. This, Mr. Trump noted, is in response to the coronavirus outbreak and to protect American jobs. More in this report.
U.S. President Donald Trump said Monday he will issue an executive order temporarily suspending all immigration into the country, citing the, quote, attack from the invisible enemy and the need to protect the jobs of U.S. citizens. The move promotes Trump's long-term policy goal to curb immigration by making use of the ongoing health and economic crisis. Trump won the White House in 2016 in part due to a promise to curb immigration by building a wall on the U.S. border with Mexico. His administration has spent the past 3 years of his tenure cracking down on both legal and illegal entries into the country. Democrats like former presidential candidate Julian Castro were quick to condemn Trump's decision. Castro called it, quote, a dumb move. The White House declined to offer further detail on the reasoning behind the decision, its timing, or its legal basis. But Trump's former acting director of U.S. immigration defended the decision, saying it, quote, makes sense to protect opportunities for unemployed Americans. The U.S. economy has come to a near standstill, with more than 22 million people applying for unemployment benefits in the past month. Yet the president has made a point of saying the worst of the crisis has passed, and he has encouraged the states to reopen their economies. In mid-March, the U.S. already suspended all routine visa services in most countries worldwide for both immigrants and non-immigrants, a move that has potentially impacted thousands of people.
More than 2 months after Egypt became the first country in Africa to confirm a case of COVID-19, the outbreak appears to have reached almost every nation on the continent. Of Africa's 54 countries, only 2 have yet to report a case of the virus. As of April 19, the confirmed coronavirus death toll on the continent stood at 1,126, with fatalities including the former president of the Republic of Congo and Somalia's former prime minister. According to the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there are over 22,500 confirmed infections and over 5,500 recoveries. Experts warn that fragile healthcare systems in many African countries could be overwhelmed in the face of a severe outbreak of COVID-19. And in sports, the Premier League Clubs Association (PLCA) has moved to refute claims of a breakaway by clubs in the Red Stripe Premier League. In a press release, the PLCA described the allegations, which appeared on social media and on a radio sports news report, as scurrilous. The association also said that the clubs which comprise the PLCA had a video conference last week Thursday, at which certain plans for the future were discussed and unanimously agreed. The PLCA further added that Premier League clubs were united in the way forward as they strive to build a sustainable organization in the best interest of Jamaican football. The RSPL has been on an indefinite suspension since March 12 due to COVID-19. Up to the time of its postponement, there were 4 rounds to go in the regular season, but the playoff picture remained unclear as teams 7 through 9 still had a chance to make it into the top 6. Waterhouse were leading the standings with 54 points, just 1 ahead of second-placed Mount Pleasant Academy, with Portmore United and Humber Lion 3rd and 4th on 46, and Tivoli Gardens and Dumberholden 5th and 6th on 43 points. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.